Let's talk about kindergarten math lessons and how to structure a kindergarten math lesson. A kindergarten math lesson is going to have the same structure as an upper elementary class. You're going to do a warm up, you're going to teach the lesson, then you're going to give time to practice what you're teaching, and you're going to wrap everything up with a closing activity. The warm up is just a quick and easy way to get everyone's attention, to get their minds ready to learn and ready for math, and they're to start talking about the math. And it's, especially great if kids are coming to the rug, transitioning. It's a good way to start the lesson. In kindergarten, I love starting with tell me fast or subitizing, where you hold up an image and the kids have to tell you how many they see. And I have a whole blog post on this. If you want to learn more, I'll put the link below so you can check out that and learn more about it. And all of these examples of warm-ups are in the blog post about kindergarten math lessons. So you can check that out to learn more. I'll just talk about a couple. So how many you can put up on the board, and it's just a picture, and that you say how many, and that's it. That's all you say. And the children decide what it is they want to count. And so it's really exciting. When you first do it, they just shout out six, and you say six what? 6 flowers. Okay. What else? And they're like, what? What do you mean, what else? Like, they start with the main object, and then they can break it down into, well, there's 2 red flowers, or there's, 36 petals, and there's 4 leaves, or whatever, 6 stems. Like, they start to count lots of other things. So it's a great way to build off of each other and to practice counting and sorting and all of that. Choral counting, you can see below in the picture, the kids are just counting out loud, and I'm writing down the numbers that they say. But then we have a little discussion about what they notice about the way I wrote down the numbers, and it gets into some great, talks about place value, but it's also just great for number sense. Numberless word problems, I have a whole blog post on that as well, so I'll link that so you can learn more about that as well. But the warm-up is just a quick and easy way to get kids engaged and ready to start learning about the math and to talking about the math and really thinking about the math. After the warm-up, you do the lesson, and that's dependent on your curriculum that you have, but you really want to make sure that in kindergarten they're not sitting on the rug for more than 10-15 minutes, so your lesson shouldn't be longer than that. Add it on to the warm-up. It shouldn't be longer than that. Maybe at the end of the year you can get away with close to 20, especially if you do a movement break in between the warm-up and the lesson. You can get away with that a little bit longer of a lesson. But if you know you're going to have a longer lesson, don't do a long warm-up. If you know you're going to have a short lesson, you can get away with a longer warm-up. But the math lesson on the rug with the whole class really should not be longer than 10-15 minutes, definitely without using a movement break. After the lesson, you want to give children time to practice what you're teaching them, and to practice skills that they are missing or need more practice with. And the best way to do that in kindergarten and in the younger grades is hands-on interactive activities and games. And the best way to manage all that is stations and centers. So the kids will go to a different table, they'll pick an activity, and they'll play, or they'll build, or they'll create, and they're working together with other people, or they're working by themselves. At this time, you might pull small groups too to work with groups of children working on a specific skill. But the math stations really should be hands-on, interactive, fun, engaging games and activities to practice the skills that you're teaching them and skills that children need more practice with. One way to manage the stations is to have a sign-out sheet where the kids sign out of the station when they're done playing there. In my classroom, I don't tell the children where to go. I don't tell them how long to go there for. I don't set a timer and rotate everyone. But I do want to make sure that everyone goes to every station because they're all important ways and skills to practice. So I make sure that all the children sign out of the station before they move on to another station. And that's the rule. And we practice. I explain the expectation. We practice it a lot. I model it. They model it. Practice, practice, practice. And by December, January, my stations really run themselves. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it because the kids are so much more engaged when they're choosing where to go and they're able to stay there as long as they want. Sometimes the kids stay there the entire math time, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And isn't that fantastic? Isn't that amazing that they're so engaged in kindergarten when their attention span is like all of 2 minutes, that they're so engaged at a math station that they'll stay there for 30 to 40 minutes? Think about the math that they're doing in that time, the critical thinking that they're doing when they're staying there and engaged with something for that long. So I think that's great when that happens, and I want to encourage that. And then the next time they come to math stations, the next day, they have to choose something else to try before going back to a beloved station. They have to go to every station at least once before returning to a favorite. And the way I manage all of that is by doing a sign out sheet. So you can do what works best for you, but ultimately, when the kids are practicing their math that you have just taught them or previous skills, you really want it to be engaging, hands-on games, activities, creations where they're building, really engaging with the concrete math in front of them. They need concrete before they can do abstract. So concretely counting objects before rote counting out loud. Counting, building Unifix cubes and adding two different object groups together before they're answering, addition worksheets, right? And I think worksheets have their time and place, but when we can make them more engaging, make them more like a game, more interactive, the better that they are and the more the kids learn from them. So then after the stations are over, after the time to practice is done, you want to close up the lesson. This is a really great time to reinforce the skill that you taught them earlier in the lesson, or practice a skill that you know your class needs practice with. And because we're all doing different stations, some stations take longer to clean up than others. I have kids trickling into the rug at different times. And so I pick a closing activity that can be done with kids, joining the rug at different times. So Jack Hartman videos are fantastic for this. The kids love them. There's a movement break in them, so it's good for a transition. But also, as kids are coming to the rug, they're hearing the video, they're finishing cleaning up, and they can join whenever they're ready. They're not missing out. Another thing I love to do is building a number line with the students, where I'll give everyone a number when they come to the rug, and they have to put it up on the number line as they arrive. But I don't give them the numbers in order. So the first person might have 10. Is 10 going to go in the middle? Is 10 going to go at the end? As they get more numbers, they have to rearrange the numbers on the number line to have it make sense. And this really helps with number sense and number order and all of that. So there's lots of great closing activities. More are in the blog post, but really it's just a quick way, very quick way, 2 to 3 minutes, not long, to just wrap up everything, reinforce the skill that you taught them, and help transition them to their next activity. If you liked the idea of the stations and you want to learn more about center ideas, I have an entire bundle for you with every single math game, center, activity, station, small group, whole group, hands-on, anything you could think of. I have it all for you in this kindergarten for the whole year math bundle. If you're just looking for a certain unit because maybe you need more addition and subtraction games, you can just pick and choose that way too. But, these centers are all very engaging for the children. They like coming back to them time and time again, and they really help reinforce the learning that they're doing in the classroom. So I recommend you check it out. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comments down below.